Hey guys, super quick. I had planned on editing my latest blood patch procedure that I had done on the 28th over the last 3 or 4 days. However, when things happen in your life, they usually happen pretty quickly, and I actually ended up having one of my close family members get admitted to the hospital for a moderate surgery, so I was actually caregiver instead of patient this time. So I was in and out of the hospital trying to make sure that they had everything that they needed. But that also meant that I was not near my computer and I couldn't edit it. I am driving down to Stanford today. My family member actually got discharged earlier this morning. And so up until now, we've been trying to get them all situated super quick before I leave. It definitely was not ideal, but we've done the best we can, and I feel like we've risen to the occasion. But we are going to be driving down to Stanford today because I'm going to be getting a loop recorder implanted tomorrow, super duper early in the morning. And for anyone who doesn't know what a loop recorder is, it's this little device that can monitor your heart long term for up to 3 years. And it's smaller and thinner than a USB drive. That mine is going to be downloading wirelessly to a box that I'll have by my bed. So every time I sleep, it'll download that data, which will be sent to someone who monitors those rhythms, and they can have red flags if things show up. But we decided to go with this because we don't really know a whole lot about really what goes on with my heart during my POTS episodes or in between episodes. Usually by the time I'm put on monitoring, it's all over. So it's not very helpful. So our thought is if we can get more information, we'll be able to treat it more effectively. So that's the plan right now. But this week has definitely been a lot of unexpected changes, so we've been rolling with the punches. So now that my family member is taken care of and they're doing a lot better, we're gonna book it down there, get this done, book it back, and it'll be on to the next thing. Hey everyone, so it is day 5 after my loop recorder implantation. Everything has gone swimmingly. Pain level was never too bad as far as the healing process goes. This is what it looks like, not to get racy or anything. So it's very, very small. And it's a little stiff, but I think it's just getting used to having something in there that's not usually in there. But yeah, I think that the healing process has gone really well, very smoothly. There's still some discomfort. I definitely think that being female and a larger breasted female has made the process a little bit more painful because they are going into an area where there's a lot of nerves. The big joke was that they cored out my breast, like right in the middle. So during the healing process, it was quite tender. I don't have to get my wound checked out until next week, but it's almost completely sealed at this point, 5 days in. But the process was not too bad. I'm not sure what I expected when I went in for the procedure. I checked in like any other surgical procedure. I was taken back. I was given an EKG, and then I was taken back to the OR where they got everything prepped. They had a surgical skirt, but basically it had a hole like this, and around it there was adhesive, so they stuck it on, and then the blanket went up and over your head, and they have like a little wire bar that keeps it from sitting on your face so you don't get claustrophobic. And then they gave me some local anesthetic, and they made it burn less because they watered it down with something. I forget what it's called now. But basically they'd watered it down in such a way where local anesthetic wouldn't sting so much, which I appreciated. And then from there on, it was a lot of pressure. I didn't have any pain, which was good, but it was kind of a deep pressure, and I felt like I was kind of moving all over the table a little bit, because it is kind of it's not necessarily the most delicate process to undergo. And I'll link a video, which is an animation of how these things are inserted. Mine was a Medtronic loop recorder, and so I was gowned up, everything was numbed up. Honestly, I think the weirdest thing for me, where I had to do a little self-talk, was even though I wasn't feeling any pain, I could feel tugging when they were doing the couple of stitches that they put in. And I could kind of feel the string going through my skin, where it wasn't a painful sensation, but it wasn't necessarily a comfortable sensation either. But otherwise, it wasn't bad. As a female, I experienced bruising and swelling to that breast, especially right after the procedure. I went to go put my clothes back on and was a little surprised at what it looks like, without giving too much information, because that area is traumatized. There tends to be swelling that can kind of temporarily deform the area. And then about day 2 or 3, I noticed that there was some bruising kind of on the underside of my breast, just from the procedure and the way that it's done. But overall pain level hasn't been that bad, and especially in comparison to some of the patches that I've had, this was a walk in the park. But yeah, honestly, I think the weirdest part for me so far is just getting used to the fact that there's something in that area that isn't usually there. And when I'm walking around and doing stuff, I don't really notice it. I just know that when I palpate it, when I touch it, it doesn't feel the same, doesn't feel quite right, if that makes any sense. You can't see it at all, but I can feel it. So unless someone's getting real up and close and personal with you, no one's gonna notice you have it, except for maybe a little bit of a scar. I'm not even sure you'll be able to see mine unless I tan in that area. I don't know. But overall, not bad. Going home and kind of reading the instructions of how to use it and how it can kind of complicate your life a little bit, honestly was kind of a bigger thing for me, because for whatever reason I didn't really put too much thought into this process, because I've been through a lot of medical procedures in which the risks are much higher. So having this be such a safe procedure, I really didn't do a whole lot of research. But I was given a box with my monitor and basically like a wand you can stick on your keychain, and the wand allows you to basically take a snapshot. So if you're not feeling quite right, or if you feel like maybe there's something going on with your heart, you can scan it over your loop recorder, and I think it saves like 5 minutes before and 5 minutes after, I'm not quite sure. And you basically have 3 saves before you have to call the monitoring center, and they basically have to wipe the memory, if that makes any sense. I am not 100% positive on how it all works. I haven't gone in depth and spoken to the device nurse. That will be when they go to check my wound, or lack thereof, at the point that I have my appointment. But I would imagine I'll feel more comfortable and be able to give you more information about exactly how my devices work after that. I can honestly tell you that I was trying to be quiet. So I can actually not honestly be able to tell you what the name of all of my devices are, because they already I've given them all names. Back in January, when I first thought I was going to get my loop recorder, I had a friend tell me that I needed to name it something. It needed to have a good name. And I'm not really good at naming things, so I was like, well, I don't know, think of something. So they thought and they thought and they thought, and they're like, you know what? You should call it Thumper from Bambi, because he'll be able to tell when you get Twitter pated. And I loved it so much that my mind was completely set on it. So my loop recorder is called Thumper, and it can indicate whether or not I get Twitter pated. And then my little wand that I can carry on my keychain, I'm calling it the communicator from Star Trek. And then
The machine that the loop recorder downloads to every night, called the Collective, because I'm a nerd like that, because I download myself to the Collective so that the Borg can look at the information. So I've made it fun. Everything has a good name. I mean, if you're gonna have it, you might as well have fun with it. I have Thumper who can tell when I get Twitter pated, and I use my communicator to download to the Collective so that the Bulwark can tell what is going on in my little thump. So that's kind of that's the running joke. And pretty much from the point that I got my implant, we've had more cyborg jokes than ever before. So we've definitely just taken it and run with it. And so I definitely think it's going to take some getting used to, because you do have to bring it with you, because you have to be able to download every night, because it's almost like having a 2 gigabyte USB in your chest. It doesn't have a lot of its own memory. So if you don't download every night, it'll start to write over the information, which is not what you want. So I am going to be having to travel with my monitoring hub. I have to travel with the Collective. And so I think I'm planning on basically traveling with it in like a camera bag to keep it protected. And then I was told that I will probably set off metal detectors. So I have a little card that I was given with all of my medical equipment that I can show to security and basically say, hey, I have this implant. And it also says it's not recommended to have like one of the hand scanners that like TSA has to run over the implant more than once, because it can interfere with it and kind of wipe the memory. I was told that if I have an MRI that I need to call Medtronic first. I'm not sure exactly what I'm supposed to do after I call them. My assumption is that I call and they kind of do like a hard save, so that if it does get wiped clean, they've saved all that information. But yeah, so I'm officially a cyborg. But I'm really hopeful that this will be a big tool in me being able to really figure out what's going on in there and see if there's anything that we haven't tried yet that may be able to improve my symptoms. But I'm really hoping that this will be helpful in the future as far as treatment of my patches and the correlation with my POTS, because we've noticed that good patches usually tend to improve my POTS symptoms, and when I lose pressure with the patch, my symptoms tend to return, come out in force, and usually my worst, longest hospital visits are after patches that just epically fail. So we're hoping that the information that we get from the loop recorder will really lend to that correlation, and who knows, we may figure out something that hasn't been figured out before. And I have long since earned the title of trailblazer, so who knows, I may be able to find something that's useful to my doctors in the future when it comes to treating other patients, and that would be excellent. That would be exactly how I'd want it to go. So that's what I got. I am going to be getting my loop recorder checked out next week, and I'm supposed to be meeting with a device nurse, and I'm assuming that they'll be able to answer all of my questions, give me a more in-depth tutorial as to how to use it, and go from there. So that's what I know. I am now cyborg. It's all I've ever wanted. But yeah, I've been a total nerd about it. So that's my update, and then I am still going to be working on a more in-depth video about my patches. This latest patch, because I know that I've skipped over a lot of the time because I have done it so many times, but there's always something new to learn, and I'm hoping that I can do more of an emotional reflection of the process as well as the technical aspects, because that seems to be something you guys are interested in. So keep your eye out for that. I am currently in a transition period where my work schedule is all over the place and everything's kind of in flux, and I am taking care of my own wound care, and I also have a family member that I'm having to take care of as well. So I am going to do my best when it comes to uploads, but as always, I appreciate your guys' patience. So I will see you guys in the next video.